Thursday, May 30th. Welcome inside the vault for a Ravens lunch hour live stream. Great to be with you as always. I'm Bobby Trossett, joined alongside my co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison. We're looking forward to today's live stream. This is brought to you by our friends at Primary Residential Mortgage, and lots to discuss as per usual. Were Lamar Jackson's words twisted recently when he gave a response essentially saying about the Kansas City Chiefs having to play him again, having to go through them? We'll get into that. Others are saying, Sarah, you found that it doesn't even matter what Lamar and the Ravens do. They can't get past the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll respond to that. What about Super Bowl or bust? Obviously, the Ravens, I think we can all probably agree, fall within that category. But what other teams do, and where do the Ravens fall within the top five? We'll tell you ours. And what else we got going on? An update on Jamal Adams from Adam Schefter as well.
Yeah, it was an update that we kind of missed, so it's an update to us.
Yeah.
There
you have it. There you have
but
it.
But S-Bob, this is new to me. S-Bob, Super Bowl or bust. Who are the top 5 S-Bob teams? This is going to be fun. I want to hear comments on this too.
All right, beautiful. But we'll begin with the fact that, surprise, surprise, Lamar's perfectly fine and normal answer to a question regarding the Kansas City Chiefs and going up against them to start off the season are being twisted. So some of these accounts you'll expect, and it's not a surprise that they're twisting words. Others, it's like, okay, let's have a conversation surrounding it. So you found this. I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so, I mean, we all remember when Lamar Jackson, he took the podium last week, and he was asked, what do you think of drawing? It was the first time we got reaction from him on the Ravens schedule and finding out that the Ravens got the Chiefs week 1, Thursday night, national audience, all that. And, he does what Lamar does. He downplays everything unless it's the Super Bowl, right? And so he essentially said, full quote, like, I didn't really care because we play who we play. We have our 17 opponents. And he said, what really matters, whether we win or lose week 1, what really matters is that we put ourselves back in position to get into the playoffs and then continue to try to play to the point that we get to face them in the playoffs again. So he's acknowledging, in my view, Chiefs beat us in the AFC Championship game. Regardless of what happens in the regular season, all that really matters is that we get back there and get revenge there. And he was 1,000% correct. So, of course, a couple of Twitter accounts took that out of context. So Pro Football Talk was the first that I had seen and kind of put Lamar Jackson opening with the Chiefs. I really didn't care. Then the @ML Football, one of those aggregator sites, but I mean, it got a lot of traction, this tweet. News quarterback Lamar Jackson says, quote, "I really don't care," close quote, that the Ravens are playing the reigning back-to-back Super Bowl champion Chiefs in week 1. And so it's just one of those things where if you don't have a lot of context, you're making him, it looks like it's trying to stir up bulletin board material. Like as if like, they're the JV squad, don't really care type thing, which obviously is not what he was trying to do when you put it in like that. And then, of course, they put it in all caps, "I really don't care." And so, a lot of
well, can we go back to that slide for just a half second?
Sure.
Because look at the difference, too, between don't and didn't. There's a difference there, too.
Yeah.
I really didn't care, meaning it's past tense in the sense that when the schedule came out and I saw that we were going to kick off the entire season, he goes on to say that. I really didn't care, and you read the full quote.
Yeah, well, I kind of summarized it, yeah.
Yeah. The meat part of the quote.
Yeah,
and then ML Football comes in.
With the eyeballs, which makes it seem like, what'd he just say? Like, no, he said something perfectly normal.
Totally exaggerated, total hyperbole, and it's like you said, it's meant to paint him in a light from a almost like, wanting to start up some or downplay the significance of what the rematch means, and so
I think it's trying to drum up interest in that game, and we don't really need it. Like, we're all excited for it anyway. You know what I mean?
Sorry.
So yeah. So anyway, a lot of people responded. Didn't even post the full quote, trying to make him look bad. Somebody else, Kel, twisting his words. Nate Ropelt, this is so bad, way out of context, what he said at the presser. Field Vision Sports, this is in response to the Pro Football Talk one. Well, he probably should care based on Spag's game plan against him in the AFC Championship game, pick six pack. He better care. Then one guy who got the wrong impression and then was pushed back against. He's like, oh, I get it. He's like, everyone cares when they play a defending Super Bowl champion, let alone the quarterback of the team that was one game away from the Super Bowl. Come on. And then this guy, JB, pushes back. Then go watch the presser. Out of context is what this page is known for. And then Noel, he's like, so it does, though. It gives the impression that he's being flippant and it's trying to create bulletin board material when it was actually a respectful quote. Yep. PFF Fantasy, I think they learned the lesson from the other two and put up the more of a context. He said, at the end of the day, our goal is to make it to the Super Bowl. We lost them in the playoffs. Just beating them in the regular season doesn't really do anything. So they added.
But even their caption, even in the caption of the tweet,
yeah,
Lamar isn't worried about the Ravens-Chiefs Week 1 matchup with the eyes emoji.
Yeah,
it's just not. That's. It's such a stretch,
Yeah.
It's just such a stretch.
Yeah.
You play the full. You have the full quote, so you take that step, which is great.
Yeah.
Better than the other two accounts, but then you try to act as if in the tweet itself that there's something more to it. There isn't. If you watch Lamar the way we do, handle these press conferences year in and year out, there is literally nothing to that quote.
Nothing. Well,
and matter of fact, Sarah, he was trying his best to avoid this probably.
What he's trying to do is trying to downplay the scenario, whereas everybody's taking that and trying to upplay it even more. And we're obviously what helps a little bit is that, this is in May and people are looking for content for sure. And so this kind of bled over into some of the national talking shows, but I wanted to give credit to Matt Hasselbeck because NFL Live, they did a good job. They played the full quote. Then said, what do you think of him saying this? And Hasselbeck, he got it. And so he sent it to his national audience of what Lamar was trying to say and that he agreed with it.
I just think he's right. I agree with his comments. And I think that he's saying the right things. It sounds and seems like he believes it. He's right. Well, whatever happens in terms of the beginning of the season, how you play against Kansas City doesn't matter. I mean, we had the full screen up for a reason, in terms of how they've performed or how he's performed against Patrick Mahomes-led teams. So I think it's the right approach, especially when it could potentially not go your way early in the season. And that doesn't mean that it can't go your way later. Look, Hannah, I think you kind of said it. Steve Spagnuolo has done a really good job against that Ravens offense in these matchups. So I think it really comes down to, can you control the game against Kansas City the way that you kind of have a habit of doing against other teams, lesser teams in the National Football League, because that's ultimately how Lamar is going to be judged. It's how this era of Baltimore Ravens teams is going to be judged, is how they play against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he's right.
So I think Matt Hasselbeck did a good job of making sure he's listen, what he's saying is right. All that matters.
Right? Tim Hasselbeck.
Tim Hasselbeck.
Yeah.
Who's Matt?
His brother.
Okay. I got it in the family there. So Tim Hasselbeck there. So he did that. Now, the larger point that when did Spagnuolo become their defensive coordinator? I'm going to look this up.
Let's see. He's been there for a minute. Gosh, I used to be watching him back
I remember he was with the Ravens for a minute.
I was going to say, I really got to know him well, during my high school years when he was with the Giants. It was only a couple seasons, but yeah.
2019. I was wondering if he was there that 2019 year because the Ravens had put up over 30. I wonder if that was him. So I agree with Tim that Spags has been major. Now, here's what's interesting, kind of transitioning into the kind of next quote. So we all know Lamar's right. All that matters at the end of the day is that you get to the playoffs, and if you meet the Chiefs, that you beat them. That's what matters. Now, I still want that week 1 win, Bobby. Don't get me wrong. I don't want that hovering over all season long. I'm greedy when it comes to wins. I'm not one of those people who's well, if we lose here, then maybe we could win here. Nah, I want wins all the time. Okay. I try not to be greedy with other things, but with wins, I want them all. I want them all. So I went over to First Things First, and they were talking about Lamar's weight, obviously. And they all thought it was fine. No, this is a little bit older. It's a little bit older. Yeah. And they were all fine with him shedding the pounds, right? They're like, yeah, get Lamar back to being who Lamar is. Like putting on the weight was like an indication, like a lot of pocket passers do. If you just sit back there, you put on the weight so you can absorb hits a little bit more. But not all of the quarterbacks are Lamar. So let's get back to being Lamar. So they're all being complimentary of it and fine with him shedding the weight. But then, and I'm bringing this in because we're talking about the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Here's what Greg Jennings had to say. He just kind of slipped this in there as they were talking about the weight.
Look, the reality of it is Lamar Jackson is a really good player, but I don't know if he will ever be enough when you have the Michael Jordan of quarterbacks that you have to go up against.
Well,
I just don't see him getting over that.
You said that years ago.
Yeah, I said that about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't think he will ever be enough. Thoughts?
Well, he's comparing Mahomes to Michael Jordan, which it feels like a stretch, but based on what Patrick's done, it's not out of the question. I don't actually think that that's all that much of a hyperbole because of the type of run that he's on. And I think it's actually within bounds until Lamar proves otherwise.
Forget that.
Well,
I don't think he, meaning Lamar, will ever be enough. Nah, I'm not going down that road. No.
Well, but from his perspective, as hopefully an unbiased media member, former player, I think too, right? Greg Jennings.
Listen, I could be.
Why is that out of bounds in your mind?
No, I didn't say it was out of bounds. I'm saying forget that though. Like, that's fine. Say what you want to say. Nothing's out of bounds. We're all giving opinions. I mean, I don't want to say nothing's out of bounds, but your opinion on football and what's going to happen, predictions, none of it's out of bounds. He can believe it, but forget that. And here's why. This is the screen that we're looking at right now. Lamar has not played well, right? Which is the reason why when Lamar didn't play the top of his game in the AFC Championship game, and he turned around and L'Jarius Sneed got him. He had the fumble after, and I don't put it on him, but he had the fumble when Ronnie Stanley let his guy through and they blindside strip sacked him. But then I do put on him throwing into triple coverage and the interception. But you look at these stats right here, Lamar Jackson career by opponent, including playoffs. And so we're talking about versus the Chiefs versus everybody else. Okay. He is 1-4. His QBR is low, 53. His completion percentage is 56%. Turnovers at 1.2. You're telling me that under what he's saying, I don't think he will ever be enough. You don't think if Lamar Jackson plays his best game, he can't beat Patrick Mahomes? Absolutely he can.
But it hasn't happened yet.
Fine.
So he can say he
can say
that.
it, and I'm disagreeing.
Yeah.
That's why I said he's not out of bounds. He's not out of bounds, but I passionately disagree. Obviously, passionately. I'm not angry at him. I'm going for Lamar is what I'm doing. I'm not angry at him. Say what you want to say. Your opinions are totally in bounds. 1,000% the best that Lamar Jackson can win. He 1,000% can. No doubt in my mind. I want to see Lamar at his best when he's playing them. And it's been a minute since he has. And I'm not buying into like he can't do it because it's the Chiefs. He really needs to overcome Spags in that defense. Obviously, Mahomes, he wasn't putting up big numbers or whatever. But Lamar Jackson at his best 1,000% can. He's saying, I don't think it will ever be enough, ever. No.
We believe that. We get to watch this greatness on a weekly basis. From Greg's point of view, maybe he doesn't watch it on a weekly basis. Getting caught up in the dynasty right now.
Listen, man, if I were national media, no matter who it is, this is why we play the game. No matter who it is, I'm not going to say, like, listen, I was around to watch everybody say Joe Flacco would never get back past Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, by the way. And I watched him do it twice in an AFC championship game. I watched him do it in 2011 when Evans dropped a pass and then Cundiff missed a field goal and like totally dropped the ball for their quarterback. He did it that game. He outplayed Tom Brady. And then who was the Michael Jordan then too?
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe even better in terms of like how many rings he's had in a team-oriented sport, right? And then he did it. He came back and he did it again the next year and outplayed Tom Brady. You're telling me that Joe Flacco can outplay Tom Brady twice and then, by the way, followed up by beating Peyton Manning, but Lamar Jackson at his best can't beat Patrick Mahomes? I'm not buying that at all. Will he? We'll find out. He's got to prove it, to your point, and to Greg Jennings' point. He's got to prove it. But, yeah. I don't think he will ever be enough. No, he's enough. He's enough. He's just got to play his best.
How do we I love the live chat right now. The live
What's
chat's
going
having
on?
live chat's having a good old fun with this one. But all right, well, let's take we could go.
I just want to make sure you understand I'm not mad at Greg. I got no problem with what he said. None.
I know.
Have your opinion.
I know.
I got mine.
We always have ours. We always have ours, and we have a good time with it, don't we? All right, let's.
Commercial. Let it add.
I could see us revisiting that down the road for sure. But this episode is brought to you by our friends at Primary Residential Mortgage, and they want to know: are you looking to buy a home this summer? Maybe you're ready to get pre-approved. You don't know how much to afford. The mortgage professionals at PRMI understand that navigating the home buying process can be overwhelming, and that's why they're here to help every step of the way. With a quick and easy pre-approval process and tailored guidance, you can discover your buying power and shop with confidence. And don't miss out on an exclusive incentive that's available to you as a Vault subscriber right now through July 1st of 2024. Primary Residential Mortgage is going to cover the cost of your appraisal up to $550. You can redeem that by applying through the PRMI Mid-Atlantic website and just mention my name or Sarah's or the Vault as you go throughout the process to get that claimed. You can take the first step towards your dream home by contacting PRMI today or just visit their website to learn more. All that information can be found in the show notes below. And PRMI is an equal housing lender, NMLS 3094. Where to next?
Wait. Sorry, I got to back up. I know you want to move on.
Yeah.
But as you read that, I could read the comments.
Yeah.
And which is fine. I just want to be clear. Those that think that my opinion right there is purely because I'm biased or a homer, that's fine. I've been on the show and have criticized the Ravens plenty of time. But I just want to hear you say it. You think I'm biased because you believe that Lamar Jackson can never beat Patrick Mahomes?
Me?
Not you. Commenters who's saying it. Not you.
You're looking right at me.
No, I'm looking. Well, I'm also looking right at the audience at home. So I just want to be clear. You think I'm biased because you believe that Lamar Jackson can never beat Patrick Mahomes. And I'm saying there's a possibility. There's a good possibility if he plays his best. That makes me a homer? Like, put it in there then. Put it in there. Put it in your comments. Put it in there. Lamar Jackson can never beat Lamar Jackson. I want to see who actually believes that.
She's fired up.
Here we go.
Fired up today.
On a Wednesday, or what day is today? Thursday, May 30th. We're fired up.
And I hope the live chat never confuses your passion for animosity towards me. It's never going to happen.
No.
It never happens. Like if you guys feel that there's ever tension, there isn't. And we talk about it after if there is. Never is, though.
Oh, there could be.
Well, yeah.
Chat got caught. Thank you, Luke. Put it on there. Put it on there. Tell me. Lamar Jackson.
I love going back and forth on this stuff because I feel
like
like
Cyrus, write it down. Write it down. Tell me, you think that Lamar Jackson can never beat Patrick Mahomes? Write it down. Stand on it.
Well, so he's saying so Greg said that Lamar may be never enough to get past Kansas City, right? That was his message.
He said, because they were talking about his weight and they were saying, hey, the weight's good. But then he said, but regardless of it all, no matter what they do, I don't think he will ever be enough.
He will ever be enough.
Just put it down. Tell me.
I
you
would have
think
had it.
He will never be enough.
I would have had it more along the lines of like, will the Ravens ever be enough?
No,
We
he
know
said
that Lamar.
I
Yeah, he
wrote
did.
it. Yeah,
He did.
yeah.
He did. I still think he's. We just disagree on this. That's all. I mean, it's good old fashioned disagreement.
Who's we? Who's we?
You and me. You and me.
So you don't think Lamar will beat him, or that he will never be enough?
How can I sit here and tell you that he will?
How can you not? Like, why not? Just because he hasn't done it in the past?
Well, they've proven that over hell and high water, number one wide receivers or not, down regular seasons or not, they're going to do it. They're going to be there. And the Ravens aren't as experienced in that category yet.
I just want to hear you say it.
Say what?
Lamar will never beat Mahomes.
I'm just saying it's a fair take. I'm not going to go out on a limb like him.
But I'm not saying if it's that's not the debate. I will say it right now. It's a fair take based off of what's happened in the past. Is that your prediction?
I'm not taking that angle. I'm not taking the angle of saying that that Lamar's never going to get past Patrick. I'm just saying I think it's a totally fine thing to say.
Well, we've
So
both
maybe you
agreed
and I are
on
on
that
different-
5 times. We've
We're
both
on
agreed
different
on that.
pages then. Yeah.
Well, we're on that same page, but I feel like you're on both sides of the fence here. That's all I'm saying. We both agree it's a fair thing to say.
Up to this point, I have my doubts that Lamar will be able to get past him.
That's weak. That's because he hasn't up to this point.
Absolutely.
Well, then you're not
Kansas
like
City.
you're just stating a fact, and we can both state the same facts. Up to this point, Lamar Jackson has not gotten past Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
That's not what he's saying.
He's saying that he will never be enough, and I feel like it's a fair thing to. It's a fair thing. I mean,
You're having it both ways, is what you're doing. You're having it both ways.
I mean, how could I just sit here and feel abundantly confident and say, you know what, he's never getting past Mahomes? Like, just can't go out on that limb.
All right, good.
Because what you referenced earlier on, you said, who got past Brady? You know, a couple guys did. So
One Joe Flacco, and I love Joe, but Lamar's better.
And Eli too. Shall we get to the Super Bowl or bust conversation?
Yes, let's do it. This was fun.
So yeah.
Okay, so the background to this. Same show, different segment. This was really fun. So the Lions also had their hearts ripped out, just like us here in Baltimore. They lost in the NFC Championship game, right? To the 49ers? Is that where they lost? Okay, that's where they got knocked out. So Dan Campbell, head coach over at the Lions, he was at a press conference, and a reporter asked him, like, is this year Super Bowl or bust? And, the coaches don't like that question, nor should they. He's like, well, for sure, Super Bowl. But what do you mean by bust? Like, we're not busting around here, yada, yada, yada. And so the guys at First Things First, led by Chris Broussard, did a top 5 teams, SBOB teams, Super Bowl or bust teams. Okay. And so he named his top 5. And I wanted us to kind of give our top 5 because I didn't agree with his 5. And so maybe we should define what that means. Okay. Define what that means. And I'd like the audience to kind of put that out there also. To me, Super Bowl or bust means that 2 things. 1, anything less than winning the Super Bowl is not satisfactory, right? So, for example, if the Browns made it to the AFC Championship game and lost, they'd be feeling pretty good about that. Or if the Texans did that, right, with their young quarterback, they'd be like, okay, we didn't win it all, but we're ascending, we're feeling pretty good. Okay, so there are some teams out there that it's like, you're showing progress. But Super Bowl or bust is like anything less is going to make us sick to our stomach. And on top of it, number 2, some people could be losing their jobs. That's really, to me, bust means, okay, we're busting this apart. We need to try something different. Okay. So That's kind of my definition. I know you already wrote yours down. Do you want to go yours first, or should we go one to one, like we both do number 5 and we both do number 4? I guess I could put for the audio only people. Here's Chris Broussard's 1 through 5. Top 5 Super Bowl or bust teams. He's got number 1 Chiefs, number 2 49ers, number 3 Bengals, number 4 Ravens, and then number 5 he's got a tie. Eagles and Cowboys.
Okay. It might be fun to go from lowest to highest.
Okay. One by one?
That's cool with you. Yeah.
Okay. Who do you got at number 5?
The Buffalo Bills. I think that
yeah, Chris left them totally off the list. Totally
Yeah.
agree they should be in the top 5.
Yeah, I have them at 5. By the way, the Cowboys are an honorary 6th just because I'm not saying that they should even be like, worthy of being in the top 5 because they just, quite frankly, haven't been close for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the type of money that they spend, because of the expectation, because of actually like the talent that they have, I'll give them an honorary 6th. But my 5th is Buffalo. And I think when you have the quarterback, it comes with some lofty expectations. They feel like they have that guy. They lost a lot this year, but they also drafted. They tried to replace as much as they possibly could at the wide receiver position with no Stephon Diggs, no longer there via trade. And so I'll have them at the 5th slot.
All right. So you got the Bills at number 5. I put the Chiefs at number 5. And the reason why I did that is I feel like they fulfill only one of my 2 criteria. They fulfill the criteria of like anything less than a Super Bowl win doesn't mean anything to us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I don't think if they lost the Super Bowl or didn't go to the Super Bowl, say like they got knocked out in the AFC Championship game or at some point in the playoffs, I don't think that like people are like calling for Andy Reid's head, or they're like, oh wait, now Patrick Mahomes isn't going to make it to the Hall of Fame, or is Mahomes this or that? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I just don't think anybody's going to like bat an eye as to the organization and people's jobs. So to me, that's why I have them all the way at number 5. I almost knocked them out, but I didn't want to put the Eagles in for them. That was kind of who I kind of had at number 6.
Gotcha.
So I put Chiefs number 5 because they only fulfill one of the 2 criteria.
Gotcha. Okay. You know what's funny? I didn't even put them in my top 5 because it's like they're chasing a three-peat.
Yeah.
And it's like, do they want that? Of course they do. Will they be knocked for not getting it? No.
Right.
No chance. So it's funny. I didn't even have them. Obviously, for those of you in the live show, you can see that they're at the top of the list, like Sarah mentioned a minute ago. But I don't even have them in my top 5. So anyway,
good.
So I have Buffalo 5,
okay.
And at 4. Might get some eye rolls on this one, but I really do believe that they should be in the top 5. I'm not saying that they're worthy of it, but based on the way that they've chosen to build their team, they have to be in this conversation. And that's the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. Listen, here's why though. Hear me out here. I'm not saying they're worthy of being here, but they have literally given themselves no other choice to be in this conversation because of the way they've backed themselves up. Aaron Rodgers, with the amount of money that they have, the amount of money that they have on the hook for a 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles tear, and the way that they've built their team, it's literally Super Bowl or bust. Aaron's not going to be here in 5 years. They have to win the Super Bowl, and that's why I have them at 4.
I see what you're saying. You're saying they're not worthy in terms of like
past experience and talent and results, but the way that they've built their team, they literally have no other choice. Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. He might not even be in the team in 2 years.
Right. So yeah, because here's how. So if I were gonna make an analogy with baseball, right? Like they are like winding up for a home run hit, right? Like they're going for a grand slam based off of the money and the trades they've been doing, like all the resources that it's like, we got Aaron Rodgers for a very small amount of time and we got to go all in. So from their point of view, they're swinging for the fences.
Yes.
From our point of view, they're going to strike out.
Because we've seen it time and time again.
Right. Like we don't expect them to hit the grand slam. And so I totally agree with you. Inside the building, and maybe for those fans, because they're like, when are we going to have this chance again? Like they're swinging for the fences. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
So right now I have Buffalo 5,
Okay.
New York Jets 4. Who's your 4th?
Okay, I put 4. I put the Bengals at number 4.
Okay.
I put that because I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep together, like some of these, like the people that they've drafted over the last couple of years, from Burrow to the wide receivers with Higgins and Chase and all of that. Like, I just don't know. They're not going to be able to keep paying them all.
Yeah.
And so, especially, this might be Higgins' last year there, like, unless they want to franchise tag him a second time. This is probably going to be his last year there. And they've been to the Super Bowl. And so for them, anything less, I think they hit the criteria of anything less doesn't mean it's not enough for them, right?
Yeah.
And I guess I would have had to ask Kelsey this. Joe Burrow's already, I'm hearing more and more the narrative of, like, can he stay healthy, all that kind of stuff. So there's like a narrative around him about how good he actually is in terms of durability and all that. I don't know enough about whether, like, heads would roll. You know what I mean? If they weren't to make it.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would need to know what the temperature is on, like, their head coach and offensive coordinator and all that kind of stuff. So I put him at number 4.
Really concerned about Joe's, as we've talked about in recent weeks, Joe Burrow's throwing ability at this point, and how fragile might he be with his ongoing rehab that essentially ended his season during the Ravens game on that Thursday night. So I actually left them out of my top 5. They will tell you they belong in this top 5 because they've already been there.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see that point of view. From my perspective, I left them out of my top 5.
Got it. Whoa, you
Number
got both the Chiefs and the Bengals out of your top 5.
I do. I
Okay.
do.
I
Yeah.
want to know. I'm curious. Now you
Yeah.
got me curious here. Yeah, I know Jets was kind of like the curveball.
Yep, that was a
Right?
little bit of a curve. 3, maybe not so much. The Eagles. I have the Philadelphia Eagles at 3.
Okay.
They too have been there in the Jalen Hurts era.
Mm-hmm.
Have nothing to show for it, unfortunately, for their sake. Howie Roseman and their front office, you talk about swinging for the fences, whether it be in free agency, whether it be via
Saquon.
trade, whether it be through the draft. They are built to win, and they feel like they have their guy at QB to do so. Had a down year last year compared to the year prior, but Jalen Hurts is somebody who I feel like is certainly not at Lamar's level, but man, he is right below Lamar. And I just think he's got a certain type of gamer mentality about him, doesn't get too high, too low, really enjoy his game. And I think the way that their front office has cooked and the way that they aggressively team build, I think they deserve to be in the conversation. I have Philly at 3.
Philly at 3. Okay. And I do think that, like, I mean, they kind of fell apart at the end last year. They were strolling for a while, like coming off of that Super Bowl appearance, and it was feeling good, and then they just kind of fell off. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I do think that they are a good team. And I think, as much as we've talked about, we had this debate, the other very small debate, like, I can't remember which Twitter account was like, which backfield is more dangerous, Saquon and Jalen or Henry and Lamar.
Yeah.
And whoever you choose, like, Saquon and Jalen is dangerous, and if they can get their defense back going and all that, like, I think that they could be contenders once again, especially in the NFC. I feel like the AFC is more challenging, and I think that they could certainly be in the mix.
But you very fairly cited Saquon's injury history at the time. Because I was kind of like, I was saying, look, I think this is more, there deserves to be a conversation about these two, about these two duos. Obviously Lamar and Derek are going to be the favorites, you would think, around the league. But Saquon and Jalen, boy, it's don't overlook that duo right there. If Saquon can stay healthy, which he was a year ago, then I think those two deserve to be around as well.
Okay, my number 3 was your number 5, the Bills.
Mm.
I don't think I need to, like, repeat too much, but, like, I think for Allen, I think his legacy is behind Lamar's for sure. Both coming out of that draft class. I just don't think he's done as much. He did. Did he make it? Has he made it to a Super Bowl?
No, not yet.
Okay, so they've both made it equally as far in the AFC Championship game. He doesn't have the MVPs that Lamar has. And I do think the Bills, that's where seats are starting to get warm. Like with their heart, you know what I mean?
For
So
sure.
now that's why I put the Bills up higher, is because I feel like jobs are starting to be on the line. Head coach, all that kind of stuff. Did they just turn over the offensive coordinator? Was that recent?
They did. Yep.
Yeah. Similar to the Ravens. So they're trying to like figure it out behind a quarterback that they believe can win it all. I think Allen's good enough to win it all for sure.
Yep.
So yeah, but I think that people are starting to get, they're starting to, well, not starting. They've already started the process of losing patience over there for sure.
No, I think
so that's why I put them up at number 3.
Fair. Yeah, it's fair. I remember that was an in-season change that they made too at OC. I'm just kind of remembering here, sprucing up on what took place there. Ken Dorsey was fired in November, and then they promoted the quarterbacks coach Joe Brady, who was retained as this year's OC. So that's what's going on there in Buffalo. So okay, so that brings me to 2. So now I have in the 5th slot, I have the Bills. Again, we're referring to Super Bowl or bust, our top 5 teams here. We're going back and forth from highest to lowest. I have Buffalo at 5, New York Jets at 4, Philadelphia Eagles at 3.
Mm-hmm.
And now at 2, I have the Ravens. I have the Ravens at 2. I think there is one team that should be ahead of them. We'll get to that in just a second. I don't really feel the need to go into this whole big thing as to why the Ravens are 2. I think we probably both have them in our top 2, I would have to think. So that's that. Where do you have them?
I have 49ers at 2, so I think we're going to have our top 2 flipped, but I know that we're probably going to have similar top 2s. I put 49ers number 2. They've made it so many times to the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl that I did seriously think about putting them number 1.
Yeah. NFC Championship. Yep.
NFC Championship. And so like it's something crazy. Like I feel like they've been there like 3 out of the 5 years. Can you look that up over the last 5 years? Something crazy.
Okay.
Plus Super Bowl appearances. And so it's like they keep knocking on the door. Like Baltimore keeps getting like one game better in the playoffs as long as Lamar's healthy. Whereas like they just feel stuck in the mud over the past 5 years. The reason what ultimately made me put them number 2 instead of number 1 is I feel like with them, there's not like Brock Purdy's, I'm not going to slander him. And I'm not going to I think Lamar's obviously better, but I'm not going to slander him. But because he's not like the straw that kind of stirs the mix, like stirs the drink. Like because of that, I feel like they have like more of a complete team. And I don't know if there's like, I just don't feel like his legacy is as much on the line as it is for Lamar. I don't feel like people talk about him the way that Lamar does. The other thing, now, if you want to accuse me of being biased, now this is where I might be biased more, that I'm just unaware, like is, why am I forgetting? Shanahan, is his seat warm?
Kyle's, I wouldn't say so, but you asked me to reference, or you asked me to look this up, the AFC Championship nugget.
Yeah, appreciate
just
that.
to give you that. 4 of the last 5 NFC Championship games, the San Francisco 49ers have been a player, a team in that game.
How many times did you say?
4 of the last 5 seasons.
Oh,
San Francisco's played in that game, and they don't have one Super Bowl to show for it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, just like they've hit a wall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But gosh, that wall, to answer your question though about Shanahan's seat, I think a lot of people would take that wall, right? Like a lot of teams would take that wall. And I just, I personally would be very surprised if his seat were to be warm. But hey, if their expectations are that lofty, then maybe it is.
Yeah, so that's the only reason why I put him number 2 is I also, and my impression, but everybody's impression outside of Baltimore is that fans inside of Baltimore are for sure upset with Harbaugh and have already been calling for a change there. So maybe we're having the same thing, but when we go to talk to national people, they all talk about Harbaugh glowingly, right? Like when we were at the Super Bowl, everybody we talked to. So maybe it's because we have an outside perspective, but my outside perspective is that Kyle Shanahan's seat is not as warm, and that I don't think that Brock Purdy's legacy as much is on the line. So that's why I ended up putting them at number 2, even though they've been knocking on the door even longer than the Ravens.
Yeah, I got you. And those knocks are what allowed me to, push me to put them at 1.
Okay.
So my final list in terms of Super Bowl or bust teams is 1, the San Francisco 49ers, 2, the Ravens, 3, the Eagles, 4, the Jets, and 5, the Bills. And if you were to pick a couple honorary teams for me, it would be Cincinnati and Dallas. So
And still no Chiefs.
yeah, just because I didn't.
It's whatever. They're like have
Yeah, I
enough
just
that
don't
you feel good.
necessarily. Yeah, I don't feel like compelled to
Yeah.
throw them in there. It's just like these guys have been on an utter domination track that it's just. Yeah, I don't really see them. Of course, there'll be a conversation surrounding them all the time.
Yeah.
But rip off your top 5 once more.
Well, I just want to say one thing. So Ravens are obviously my number 1. And now that part, obviously, like I said, could be biased because we're feeling it here, right? Like we want it so badly. I put Ravens number 1, and I would love for this question to be asked, although you can't do it at a presser. Like if we ever had Harbaugh or Monken or whoever, like from a coaching perspective, you want to do right by your players, all your players for sure. So that pressure is always there. But I am fascinated to know if John Harbaugh and Todd Monken feel like this pressure that they have this quarterback that is one of one, not quite like anybody else. Yes, there's been other running quarterbacks, but I mean, this man, a 2-time MVP, you have a 2-time MVP.
Yeah.
He can beat Patrick Mahomes. See how I slipped that in there?
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, quick side note, I've seen people give you love because I know that I have a lot of passion. You know that I'm not angry; it's passion. But like a lot of props for people with how much passion I had that you're standing your ground. And I totally agree. These shows are so much more fun when we can openly disagree without getting personal. You know what I mean? So
I think you and I, that's just ingrained in us.
That's ingrained in us for sure. Yeah.
And if it ever crosses a line, we talk about it, and it rarely does. So
I don't know if we've ever. I don't.
It's fun.
Yeah. It's such a better show when
it's
we
fun,
disagree.
and we have different perspectives. You've been covering the team for a lot longer than I have. You lived in that building essentially. And it's just like, and I love that we have different perspectives. Hopefully everybody agrees.
I'm like, I love the days because we agree so often. I love the days that we don't. So anyway, this is definitely one of those days. Anyway, back to I would love to ask John Harbaugh and Todd Monken if they feel this pressure that I need to do right by Lamar. You know what I mean? And like I said, they have that for all players, but not all players are Lamar Jackson. Not all players are 2-time league MVPs. Yeah. And so do they just desperately want to do right by him? And so because of that pressure, that's kind of what I'm feeling. Like you have the quarterback, you have the defense, nobody has the perfect roster. And so because of Lamar's legacy and because I know within the fan base that John Harbaugh's seat is very warm, and I think there's a possibility that Steve Bisciotti could be thinking that too.
Yeah.
I can't let this quarterback go to waste.
Yeah.
And if we don't do it again for the 7th time, maybe I have to make a change. And it's that thought that I could see Steve Bisciotti mulling that made me put Baltimore number 1, because that truly is Super Bowl or bust. Jobs are on the line.
As in all right, time to not rebuild, but time to retool.
Yeah.
Not personnel, coaching personnel.
Yeah.
I think that is really interesting.
Yeah. So to go through my 5, 1 Ravens, 2 49ers, 3 Bills, 4 Bengals, 5 Chiefs.
Okay. Yeah. Let us know in the live chat in the comment section what your top 5 Super Bowl or bust teams are. This was an interesting exercise. I didn't have this. This was a very spontaneous thing that we did, but I thought it was cool. We should We should look to implement different lists more
Yeah.
often when we can. So,
Yeah.
and
I'm glad
by the way,
like when I saw them do it, I was like, me and Bobby can have this.
yeah,
And this could be fun. So it turned out well.
definitely.
So
And by the way, just before we move on, there's a lot of people that are pushing back on the fact that I kind of leaned into the Jordan versus Mahomes comparison.
oh, okay.
I'm just saying, through the infancy of Patrick's career, it's not far-fetched to start making those comparisons. It's not like he is Jordan. It's he's on that trajectory. There's a difference.
Yeah.
So that was just to clarify, because I've seen some live chat comments.
Okay.
It's not when you look at it, it's not far-fetched, and that's what's wild because of how much success he's had right out of the gate.
He's got more to do, but the trajectory. I get your
Definitely
point.
a lot more to do, and he would tell you that too, I'm sure. Okay, we should probably get to the
Let's
Jamal
move
stuff
on.
before we get to the guard stuff.
Oh yeah. So people keep asking us what's ever come of the Jamal Adams stuff. I honestly hadn't heard anything since he had left the building, and obviously Harbaugh the next day was saying that it was a good meeting, and Harbaugh said he was super impressed with his mindset. Remember that?
Yeah.
The day after he left, Adam Schefter had given a post-meeting update. I had missed it. And so when I was watching all this other stuff, I came upon this, and this is what Schefter said where they left it the next day.
They had a big-name player make a visit this week. What's going on there?
Yeah, Jamal Adams, the former Pro Bowl safety from the Seahawks, from the Jets, visited with the Ravens yesterday. I was told it was an outstanding visit. There's mutual interest on both sides. No deal at this time. The two sides will continue talking. But when you think of Jamal Adams, you think football player. And when you think of the Baltimore Ravens, you think football team. And that would be a logical match waiting to happen. Jamal Adams surfacing in Baltimore. He did visit there yesterday. We'll see if the two sides can figure out a way to get the deal done.
So basically that there was interest on both sides.
Okay.
And so to me, and I could be wrong, I interpreted that as Jamal would like to be in Baltimore. Baltimore would like to have Jamal, but are they on the same page in terms of like money, playing time, all that kind of stuff? So that's the last update that I was able to find, and it's old. We had missed it from the day after he left.
Right. And maybe even like, hey, go test out what else is out there.
Yeah, go see if you can get a better offer.
Yeah.
That's such a Baltimore, and this started with Ozzie, where it was like he'd be like, "Here's our number.
Yeah.
No hard feelings. Go test it out on the market.
Yeah.
We feel like it's fair. If you can't do better, let us know and we'll sign you. We have no hard feelings that you go and check. You go find out what your value is, and I love that. It's not like if you don't take this now, we're hurt and spurned. That's not how Ozzie works.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you can get better, just let us know, and maybe we'll come up, maybe we won't. But that's usually how they do things. So maybe I don't know that an offer was actually put out there though. I don't know if it went that far.
And if not, we got our short list of guys that we're going to take a look at and hopefully bring one in before training camp. Or during training camp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so, we want to get a look at these guys.
Yeah, we'll keep plugged into that. In other news, Adam Schefter again, he tweeted out earlier this week, I should say, that veteran guard Dalton Risner. Is it Reisner or Risner? Help us out in the live chat. I should know this because he's a
I would say Riz.
Yeah.
Riz, I feel like to get the long I, you need the E after the S.
Yeah, he's a standout, so I should know this. But Dalton Risner is re-signing with the Vikings on a 1-year deal, and then you pulled this in from Dev, who had a thought. This was one of the. By the way, this was one of the more, I guess, at this late in the year, just in terms getting ready for whatnot. This was one of the more popular names that was out there.
Yeah, definitely probably like the last that's like would be like, okay, this guy's a step up from what you have in the building.
Yeah.
But if they were going to do that, they might as well have kept Zeitler, right? And so I liked Dev Panchwa, who was on the show a couple weeks ago talking about Bateman. And he tweeted, this was the last dude left, in my opinion, who was worth signing to a deal. I think the Ravens flock just needs to accept reality that this group of guards is likely the group for the season. They might as well see what they have. It's a high risk move, but they have developed from within before. I don't view it as high risk only because of what the Ravens, their track record is in developing the guys and along the offensive line that they've drafted and developed. Yeah. So I don't see it that way, but 100%, like if the Ravens were worried, then this would have been a guy that you go out and look, which brings me, Bobby, to this next slide. So PFF did ranked teams rosters. They put the Ravens at number 5, the 5th best roster, but in their write-up, they had a bunch of different sections, and one of their sections was the X factor for 2024. And I think this is right on. You can have more than one X factor, but they chose guard Andrew Voorhees as one of those X factors, which, I mean, it is. It's his insurance is Jones, right? That's already on the roster, because the Ravens know exactly what they have in Cleveland. What they don't know is Voorhees.
Yep.
And so here's what they wrote. Andrew Voorhees is an interesting story, as despite tearing his ACL during the NFL Combine, he's still elected to do the bench press anyway. We know all that. Despite being projected to go as early as day 2, Voorhees fell to 7th round. His most fortune may be Baltimore's gain, though, as the Ravens were able to stash him away while he recovered, and now he appears set to take over the starting left guard job. Voorhees' recovery is critical outside of Ronnie Stanley and Tyler Linderbaum. The Ravens are pretty thin on the offensive line and will be relying on some unproven commodities in other spots. Some people may argue that it's thin even with Stanley, but it all depends on his health. So 1000% agree. Like, Andrew Voorhees is a massive X factor, because I feel like we are pretty good at, I want to say above pretty good. I mean, we're good at the skill positions. And it's like, we know what we have with Cleveland. Who is Andrew Voorhees going to become? And if he becomes a day 2 pick as a guard, that's high up in guard talk, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If he's that guy, that's a massive win for the Ravens. So major X factor for the season.
In other news, this came out within the last few hours. Miami and wide receiver Jalen Waddle reached agreement on a 3-year, $84.75 million contract extension. According to Schefter, it includes $76 million guaranteed, and it makes Waddle one of the league's top 5 highest paid wide receivers. And all of a sudden, now Miami has, well, it's really not all of a sudden, but he's locked in now for the foreseeable future. And now at Tua's disposal, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Odell Beckham Jr.
Talk about an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah.
You know how yesterday we were reading those tweets about if you have the quarterback, teams can not pay an arm and a leg for a wide receiver?
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're paying Waddle.
Yeah.
What does that mean for Tua?
Right.
Maybe second tier?
Right.
Maybe
for
third
sure.
tier? But either way, but there's also there's also, though, like, he's in the building, he fits well, you know who you have, like, he's your guy, so pay him,
Right.
So, but my goodness, Tyreek, Waddle, and OBJ.
Yeah.
Have fun, Tua. Have fun.
Miami's not going away. Miami's not, but until they show that they can stay healthy and do it when it matters in January, then they're going to be looked at as pretenders. Okay, so M&T Bank Stadium has been under, as we've covered, some pretty significant construction. And one thing that's moving is, let's get rid of the logo here. One thing that's moving is a place that you and I have spent quite a bit of time in over the years.
Yep.
And that's the press box, which used to be at the 50-yard line.
Yep.
Now, as you can see from Jamison Hensley, who got a personal tour of the new construction and the progress that's being made at the bank this offseason, you can see it's actually at an angle now at the corner off to the right-hand side of where it typically is.
Bro, listen, I get what the Ravens are doing. I mean, where the press box was, it was pretty well known throughout the NFL that the Ravens press box was like one of the best. And I didn't travel a ton, but I remember going to like the Bears and I was like, where are they putting us? Like, I can't even see the field from here. Like, it was terrible. And I always just felt so, and it was kind of like a lot of times the press boxes are also outdoors. And so if it's freezing, like you're like trying to get your fingers to work as you're typing, because it's like so frozen and whatnot. Like, there's some bad press boxes, and the Ravens was good. And I have no doubt that inside it's still going to be great, and the food and all that kind of stuff. But this is a major downgrade for the reporters in terms of view.
Right? Yeah. Like some people are saying, well, the angle is better. You get to see more of the field. It really can't get better than what it was.
No.
It can't get better. That was A1 position
Yes,
watch a
and
football game.
and
You
it
can
was
see
right
everything.
and it was right above the lower bowl, but like some press boxes, not only is it cold and a bad angle, but you're also like way at the top of the stadium.
Yep.
This one, it was like it honestly, you couldn't, it was enclosed with the glass, you were warm.
Yes.
I mean, it was good. And
Now,
Judy Battista, I think she responded to this and she
Yeah.
put sigh, because I'm sure a lot of reporters enjoyed coming to Baltimore
well,
with
think
where
about
that
it too.
location
Like
was.
one area, from one sense, you can see the entire field from just like you can see coverages, you can see, player substitutions, you can see all kinds of stuff on the field. But then also from that angle, from a Ravens perspective, you can see the entire sideline from left to right.
Yeah, you could
And so
see
you can see
when
guys on the bike, you can see guys getting work, you guys can see going in the medical tent, right? Like there's so many different perfect views that you had,
Mhm.
and now it'll just be altered a little bit. So
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
see how that
I mean, they'll be
changes.
fine,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
a downgrade for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't though. This
No,
is
that
an
looks nice.
upgrade
Yeah.
inside, and this is what the finished press box will look like in terms of
Looks very similar to the old one though.
yeah, it does,
Yeah.
but just new, just
Yeah,
brand
no.
spanking new. Jameson Hensley throwing around some of the what do they call them? Render. What is it? Why am I
Oh,
not? What is it?
rendering?
Renderings. Thank you.
Yes.
Just couldn't get it out. And then this is the Black Wing, which will consist of 10 individual suites with views around the 50-yard line.
So that's probably where the press box
Yeah,
was.
that's
Yep,
exactly it.
okay. Now the Black Wing.
This is
Yeah.
pretty dope. It looks like a
I'm
5-star hotel,
Yeah, and I'm sure they're making a lot of money from it, so I don't blame them.
right?
I get it. You weren't
Right.
making money from the press being over there.
There you go. Maybe
Yeah.
some of us normal folks will be here. Maybe some of you don't want to throw. I
The
mean,
roof
I'm
deck.
not saying this is going to be cheap either, but the roof deck is a little bit different than the suite life, and this is just literally at the top of M&T Bank Stadium. So lots of different upgrades are happening, and this one right here looks pretty freaking cool. So
Yeah.
that is the roof deck high atop the bank.
This is how you know you're getting old. I just don't even want to be like I'm such a don't put me in the middle of all these crowds and the traffic and all that. That's all I can think of, as nice as that is.
Well, I would tell you, I don't think there's another sport that I would rather watch on television rather than being in person than football. Baseball, I want to be at the ballpark. I want the
Mm.
sounds, I want the seeds, I want the peanuts, I want just the bat, the sound that the ball makes on the bat, everything. I want that. For football, I feel like I'm so much more in tune and engaged when I'm watching on television. It's tough. It's really
Yeah,
tough to like the people that go out there, man, especially in the winter months. Salute,
yeah.
salute.
That's freezing. Choose your tight end duo. Ask PFF Fantasy. The Ravens, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. I can't read that. It's the Cowboys. No, it's the Raiders.
Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer.
Mayor. I don't know. I feel like they set up the Raiders again. Come on.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I'm sure they're good.
Brock,
Yeah.
Brock's gonna be. I can't wait to watch Brock. See
Yeah.
what he's all about.
Yeah.
John Harbaugh took the team, or at least some of the team, to Top Golf right there in downtown Baltimore yesterday as a little OTAs fun activity, and I think this looks like Zay in the Hood. I don't know who
It is. It's so Isaiah Likely smashed the ball.
Oh, really?
And they all start going crazy, and he's like pointing at how far it goes, and then Zay Flowers gets in there to celebrate him, and I'm like, look at this, man. This is competitive dudes, because it doesn't matter where you are, you're playing Top Golf, and like you're cheering like you just like scored a touchdown, So
Oh yeah.
that was, I'm sure, fun for them to have like a day off. You think you're going in for practice, and it's like, all right, let's go to Top Golf. Let's go.
The Ravens that I've heard are the kind of like dudes who could probably kick your, on a golf course. Kyle Hamilton, Nick Moore. I hear both those dudes are ridiculous
Pretty good.
golfers. Yeah. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise you whatsoever about Kyle Hamilton. Right. And
He sure
then
can do anything.
remember, Nick Moore got drafted. Long snapper got drafted to be a baseball player. So a lot of baseball players can easily translate their game to golf. And so those two I might put them up. Not sure how Justin Tucker is. I feel
Can
like
Hamilton play basketball too? Because he strikes me as like a small forward.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
he played. Oh yeah.
Oh, he did.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Kyle.
Or
You know,
maybe a 3-guard.
you already know what the Hamilton family's about.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what they pick up. They're probably like
I mean,
pickleball all-stars.
some people are just
Oh, I know.
athletes. Like they could have just chosen which sport they wanted to be, a pro at,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to, maybe I'll get a round in with them and Q one day. Q wants to get that round in. He's still he hit me up about it.
He
So
needs to get it done.
we got to get that sucker done. Tylan Wallace, Ravens wide receiver, held a annual youth camp, his 3rd annual, and he tweeted out that he truly appreciates everyone that came out and helped support him. Shout out to all the sponsors that helped make all this happen. Always love for the city. Hashtag 817, his area code. We'll see if he finds his way onto the 53-man roster. It's going to be a battle for him this summer.
I don't think these youth football camps by NFL players was a thing when I was young. Maybe it was, and I just didn't know because I lived in Colorado Springs. Denver Broncos were an hour north. Maybe there were, but can you just imagine as a kid going to like one of these and playing with an actual NFL football player? I do remember going to training camp as a kid, and I thought that was absolutely insane.
Yep.
I guess as like a 6-year-old girl, I remember like watching like the offensive linemen walking past, going back to their locker room, and I'm like, they're giants. Like it's so cool. I love to see when players do this in their off time.
Giving back. Love that. Lacey, Mrs. DaCosta, Eric's wife, Mrs. EDC. Happy 21st birthday, she tweeted out to her oldest daughter, the oldest of 3, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Jane, who turned 21 today. So happy birthday to Jane. I believe she's either a rising junior or senior at Penn State. Got a lot of connections up there to the Ravens. So happy birthday wishes to Jane, and hope the EDC family are having a great offseason.
So cute. So cute. Love it. Happy birthday.
Shout out Mrs. EDC for always showing love.
That's right.
Always just going above and beyond to promote the show, build us up. Never goes unnoticed. We appreciate you, Mrs. EDC.
We definitely notice it.
Our patrons this episode, Christian Almgren and Jimmy Rice. This is your monthly shout out. We appreciate you both. Thanks for all the love that you give us and the support through Patreon. Thanks for all, again, just believing in what we're building. And if you guys are interested in doing the same, you can visit patreon.com/RavensVault podcast. It's a great way to help us out on the back end and support our channel. So with that, we'll have a Ravens live stream, lunch hour live stream in 23 hours from now to kick off, really finish off the month of May tomorrow.
Well, Harbaugh's speaking in a couple hours, right?
And John Harbaugh and
Yeah.
select players, if I'm not mistaken,
Okay.
are set to hit the podium. So we will have reactions to whatever is said there coming up tomorrow. What else? We're going to take a look at the Cleveland Browns like we teased yesterday,
Tuesday.
next week, Tuesday.
Yep.
And then
Mary
as promised,
Kay
Cabot. Yep.
Cabot,
Mary Kay
yep.
Cabot. And then I think and then like maybe in future weeks, like I've teased a couple times, we'll bring on a Chiefs and or Texans reporter, because I think we all kind of feel like they're going to be around. You have to figure them out, deal with them at some point. Or what does Roquan say? They're going to have to be dealt with at some point in the postseason, you would think, on paper.
That's right.
So anyway. All right. We're going to go ahead and run. We appreciate you guys. This was a spirited episode. This was a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
We got to
as much
come
as
up
we
with
did.
more debates, man. That was fun.
I think so. Yeah, that was fun. Hopefully you enjoyed our list. We would love to see your top 5 Super Bowl or bust teams list in the live chat. Like the video if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already done so. Even in the audio only space is always there for you as well. Always repurpose this show to live in the audio only format. Spotify, Apple, Google Play, you name it. It's all there for the taking, and we appreciate you. So for Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this Thursday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. We'll catch up with you